welcome to Around the Scene, presented to you by Playing with Rockets. I'm your host, Ryan, and joining me, as always, is Daddy Perino. How are you doing today, man?
I am doing very well, Ryan. Thankfully, I got to go home a little bit early today, so it's been very nice to be at home at like a reasonable hour and not to have to continue to do work, It's really, really good. So I'm on like cloud 9 today. This is great.
Yeah, you get off work to come do other work.
I don't consider this work. What's the phrase? If
you enjoy it, if you enjoy what you do, you don't work a day in your life, or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So if I could do this every single day and sustain myself off of that, I'd never work a day in my life, Ryan.
You heard it here first, guys. Follow us, do all that stuff. That way he doesn't have to.
That way we can go full time. Yes, but unironically, please.
But guys, this is Around the Scene, and we are here every single week, so you can get your fix on all things Rocket League if you like this. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, follow, subscription, do all those things, whether it's on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, your podcast service of choice. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. We are recording our episodes every Tuesday, and episodes will drop on Thursday. We did have a little bit of an issue this last week. I couldn't, for some reason, upload the audio file for podcast services. The YouTube one I was able to get going. I don't know what happened with the audio version, but Perino fixed my blunder there, so that is all live and good for you as well. But man, we don't have a whole lot of Rocket League news. It's a lot of roster news, though.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to the show today. I think this is like prime off-season, where there's not a whole lot going on with the game, but teams are starting to make moves. You can feel the earth shifting beneath the feet of the scene. So it starts with, a couple of cracks, a couple of fissures here and there, and I think we're about to get crazy. So nothing too outrageous yet, but it's happening. It's coming.
It's slowly but surely all coming together. We have a massive 2 items in our Rocket League news this day. So let's just jump right on into it. The first announcement is Johnny Boy announces the EU Ones tourney on August 5th, which is basically going to be the day that you're listening to this. It's happening that day. So August 5th, it is filled with a long list of top-tier Ones players, such as apparently Jack, Dead Monster, Relating Wave, Fairy Peak, Scrub Killer, Dementia, Ashley, Fahad, Moxie, O'Khalid, Kiernan, Reeziers, Exotic, Ahmed, Revies, Jorus. Gosh, I have never tried
EU
to
names.
read.
Oh,
I've just never tried to read like usernames this quickly in a row, and it is not easy. Jorus, Ayoub, Daniel, TRK511, Lorelei, Death, Toxic, Luis P, Emery, OSM, Drowley, Cash, Trex, Oski, Raw9, Tho, and Ams. Oh, that is a long list. That's over 20 players, easy. That tournament is going to be happening on August 5th, and he just put that out in a tweet, and all he put for the caption with the image that has all their names says, "Losing will not be permitted." So it could be another, cool type of tournament where, you lose once and you are out or something like that.
Who knows? Johnny is the king of Ones content. Anybody that follows the highest level of Ones play, I think is going to be super excited for this.
Yeah.
For me, I don't usually watch Ones tournaments. I can't stand playing Ones, and therefore I don't watch it, if that makes sense. Like, I understand like how much skill it takes, and believe me, I know, because I've tried. I've tried to be good at Ones, and I can't do it, and I just can't enjoy it. So it's hard for you to watch. I don't know if other people have that issue, but I respect the hell out of those players because it sucks. 1v1 sucks, man.
I don't know. I've gotten to a point in 1v1s now where I throw on like some lo-fi chill music or, whatever type of music I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll just throw on like, some music that I can kind of like sing along to as I play. Because I treat Ones very casually at this point. I almost use that as my free play, basically. And I found that it's way more enjoyable when you do that. When you just really don't care.
Yeah, but that's the issue, Ryan, is
You're like, I have
do
to care.
I do care. Yeah, that's the thing. I do care. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because I'm a naturally very competitive person. So any game that I'm playing, like I am playing to win. And I understand, ones as like a tool for improvement, and there are some of the best players in the world really came from playing a ton of ones. So like I get it. I just don't have the patience, I think is the word. The inner serenity to handle grinding ones. I just can't do it.
Yeah. But that tournament is happening. Talking about, last one's tournament you really watched. The last one I really paid attention to was probably the League of Rockets stuff. Because I'm kind of the same as you. I never really followed too much of the one stuff. I tune in every now and then, or if like something big happens within it, I watch. But really, aside from League of Rockets, I don't think I really have watched many ones.
I enjoyed watching the most recent Salt Mine. I think it was Salt Mine 2.
Yeah.
Again, another Johnny event. The Salt Mine events are fun. I think obviously they're still really competitive, but it's very relaxed. So yeah. I followed that one a little bit, not a ton though.
Okay. But yep, that is going to be happening most likely today when you're hearing the podcast, because third today, yeah. So the day this episode comes out, you should be able to go watch that. It's probably on as you're listening to this, honestly, since they're EU time zone and everything. But that's happening, so that should be a lot of fun for you ones fans out there. But you got anything else you want to add to this one?
Not really. I think we covered it as best we can. Should be a fun event.
Yeah. And so moving on to our next item, it is a curious one. This isn't really a news item, but one that I saw and I thought would be interesting to bring up as a news item is you remember the search for the next best team with Beasley Esports, the organization behind the Houston Outlaws for Overwatch and everything, how they're doing that whole tournament that's offering contracts and everything.
Yes, I just got sent something about that personally from a friend. It was actually kind of neat, but yes, I do know the tournament in question.
Yeah. Well, so they just had the first qualifier this past weekend, I believe. And the turnout was actually pretty low, surprisingly. They were talking about it on Reddit and everything. And honestly, the lack of, and this isn't even just people on Reddit talking about it, but it was even like people I've talked about who are familiar with the event. We're talking about it with me, and it just is very odd because it seems like a lot of the players that you would expect to be trying to participate in this event are not doing it. For instance, one of the comments did a pretty good job of talking about some of it, and it's an older comment, so some of the stuff they put is wrong. But one of the things they said is, a team like Wanda Mike, Allraz, and ZPS, if that was a roster that tried to come together, they would stand a really strong chance of top 16, top 8 to 14 or so in these events, if not winning the whole thing. But then you also have players like Chronic, Two Piece, Parth, the new Nefarious roster isn't even trying for it. Oath, Astro, Shadow, Siki, J-Bot. All these players who are pretty solid themselves, they're not really trying for this event. And one of the interesting comments I saw was people saying that there wasn't enough talk about the event. They were saying that there wasn't enough promotion for the event, and so that's why you didn't see a whole lot of people show up for the first qualifier, which I found weird personally, because I thought this was kind of like a big piece of news in most people's minds, but I mean, maybe I'm crazy.
No, I remember when it was first announced, there were a lot of takes out there because the quote unquote prize, I guess, for winning it, right? Offering the contract and sticking with the team. It it was pretty well circulated because there were a lot of people talking about, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. We talked about it here on the show.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily believe that to be the reason. I think a better reason might be, I think there are still teams within that quote unquote bubble area, if that makes sense. Teams who aren't on organizations yet but are really, really good and can compete in RLCS on the low end. I think they're still trying to formulate rosters. And this was one of the drawbacks that we brought up a week or two ago. Days all starting to run. All the days run together for me. I don't even know if we talked about in episode 1 or 2. But I think a lot of the rosters are still trying to figure it out. And there's no sense in trying to compete in this with like a pickup squad. Let's say you make it, but then you decide that you actually want to join a different team, and now you can't play for this contract. It just makes everything awkward. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think there's 1 or 2 more qualifiers, or is it just 2?
I believe there's at least one more qualifier for sure. There is a second qualifier that's happening. Let me see if I can find their Smash page. I did have it pulled up. Here it is.
Because if there are 2 more qualifiers, I think you'll see
there's
bigger
one
names.
There's one more qualifier this weekend, August 7th, and then the finals will be August 21st.
So only one more qualifier and then the final event.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see who comes out this weekend then, because I think the timing's a little bit interesting, but I don't know. It's hard to really say. I also think it can be difficult to try and play with the pressure of, like a professional contract in mind. I think a lot of people are maybe put off by the idea of like playing for this contract because it's very open-ended. There's no it's not like a definitive like, oh, we're going to pay everyone $4,000 a month on the team to play for us for a split. Like, it's not like that straightforward. They definitely left it very open to interpretation. So I think maybe some people are hesitant to even try.
That's so crazy to me, though, that you just wouldn't even bother just because of something like that, though. Like, so many people, when they get into this, they're trying to go find an org. Like, that's the big thing that most of these players are looking for, is an org to represent them. And it's like, just to pass up the opportunity just because you're kind of like, oh, I don't know about it. Like, that just seems so silly. Like, I talking from people who, have been trying to kind of recruit others to participate in this too. They said that some of the teams were telling them, like, oh, they didn't want to bother because there's not a second or third place prize. Like, if they don't get first, they don't want to bother because they're like, oh, like, I would have wasted all my time for nothing then if I don't win. And I'm like, it's kind of valid, but at the same time, like, you're playing for a contract. Like, the prize is so massive that it's like, why wouldn't you even try? It could be one of those things where it's like, it's people who are younger than me who, they're kind of like, meh, about, whatever, who cares type mentality. Whereas, like, me, if it was me right now and, like, I had the skill to participate in this, like, I'd be all over it. Like, that's such a huge opportunity.
I think that's an age thing. We just opened the top of the show of it. If we could do Rocket League stuff full time and, have a even moderately okay, comfortable style of living, like, that's enough, And for us, I think it's a bit different because we're a bit older. We have, in your case, a family. In my case, just me. But still, got to provide and, like, I don't
even
know.
taking care of yourself.
I agree.
Though, like, once you have your own place that you're living in and stuff, like, you have bills you have to pay. You have all these things. You have all these obligations, and I don't know if it's just because there's like a lack of obligations for a lot of these guys or
Probably
what,
for
but
many.
It's so crazy to me that you just wouldn't even try. That you're just like, oh, like. But also the other thing that bugs me about that mentality too is just like it speaks volumes of kind of you. That you're not even like, oh, like, if we don't win, then it's like a waste of our time. Why are you even talking like that? Why aren't you talking like you're going to win the whole thing? You should be talking like you're going to win the whole thing. Like, this is a big deal. Even if everybody else thinks it's a joke that, Beasley Esports is doing it this way, I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. Either way, you could think this is a joke, but at the end of the day, they are legitimately offering contracts. And it's like, why wouldn't you even try for it?
I have a question for you. You ready for this?
Yeah, hit me.
So let's say, this is a pure hypothetical. Let's say for RLCS, instead of just hiring a new caster to fill a spot, they're doing a caster competition where they're going to put on a tournament with all the pros, and they're going to have different people come in and cast the games. And then they're going to decide, okay, based on who we felt casted the best, we're going to hire for season 11 for the whole split. You in on that?
Oh, totally.
You doing
100%. 100% I'm on that.
You wouldn't feel exploited, perhaps, for going on, or you wouldn't feel hesitant about taking a competition style?
No, because at the end of the day, if I won, like, that's a dream come true. And any other caster who has, a similar hunger to you and me for casting and wanting to go full time with it and stuff, like, if you had a shot, even if it's like, a snowball's chance in hell, it still is a shot. And
right.
I personally would be all over that. I don't like, you could tell me that it's, a 3-day ordeal. Like, I'm literally throwing away I'm taking off work Friday, and then I'm throwing away my Saturday and Sunday to commit to this event. Even if I don't win, there's always something valuable to take away from it. And I can at least say that I tried. I can at least say that I had enough faith in myself to go and compete with people who there are definitely other casters out there that I would say that, I believe that they are better than me, but it doesn't mean that I wouldn't try.
Right. So the reason I use this example is because it's a similar skill. Now, in that case, I think the prize is kind of like everything, right? Like, being on the RLCS desk as a caster is like the best thing you can do. There's no equivalent. And I'm not saying that a pro contract for a player, that's like mid to low end RLCS, like that because it's not really the same thing. But I mean, for me,
though, to an extent, like, they're get like a contract. Like, you're talking like you're gonna get paid good money, even if you're not winning everything. Like, that's, I don't know. Personally, I just find it so silly that you wouldn't even try.
I don't know, because like, so in that scenario that I gave you, like, I think I would still do it again because, as you said, like, the prize is so inherently worth it. Even if I felt that I was not going to win, I would still try because the prize is so good. But at the end of the day, I think I would still feel exploited for, like, putting on like this competition and not just being hired on my own merit, and having to quote unquote battle it out live. Like, I think there is an element of like pride almost to that, where I would still do it.
I can understand that, but at the same time, if you were selected, like, didn't you technically earn it? Didn't you technically earn it? Like, at the end of the day,
but you didn't earn it in the same way as everyone else.
So, you earned it. It may not be the most normal way, but you earned it. If that's the way that they chose, that they wanted to look at hiring on casters each season, they were like, we're going to add one new face each season, and you if you want, you have to participate in this. If they did that, I'd be like, even if I won that, I wouldn't look at it and be like, oh, I don't deserve to be here. I'd be like, no, I beat out all these other casters to get here. I proved to people that I'm better than all these other casters and that I deserve a shot. And it's a similar thing with these players. You beat out all these other teams, all these other players to have your shot at being part of a professional organization and having some serious backing behind you. And you can't even try. It's such a joke to me.
I'm just trying to prevent the flip side. I don't even necessarily disagree with you on it.
I know.
But I'm trying to play the devil's advocate, so to speak.
I don't believe that you actually think any of that. But at the same time, it's just like any argument that you could throw at me, I just look at it and I think it still feels so silly just to not try. When it is such a huge opportunity that if this was like season 3 or 4, back when orgs were like a dime a dozen, you better believe we would have had pro players throughout that entire event trying to get in on having an organization represent them or having the chance to represent an organization. And I don't know. It seems so silly to me. It just is like, why? What? You're not going to try just because you're worried you might not win? That's such a... You're never going to make it in RLCS with an attitude like that. Like, never.
Yeah, probably not if that was your attitude towards everything. I don't know. I think it would be really interesting to see.
Towards like an event that's designed for bubble teams, like that's what the event's designed for. It's designed for the teams that are close to pro level but not quite there yet and could stand a good chance of becoming pro. That's what this event is designed for. If you don't feel that you could do well against these teams, you don't stand a chance against RLCS level. You just don't.
Hey man, I don't disagree with that at all. I think that there are multiple sides to it. I think there are legitimate and valid reasons as to not wanting to participate in this, and we'll see. I think we'll just see. The second qualifier is this weekend.
Yeah.
There'll be, my guess is some bigger names. Especially if people think
they're
that
going to try and push harder to try and get more teams, but until you see it, you just have no clue.
Yeah, I think part of that too, maybe. Well, if nobody big, quote unquote, went through the first qualifier, then you may look at it and say, well, maybe now actually I do have a chance because person A, B, C, and X, Y, Z aren't playing. So I don't know. I think it'll be really interesting to see. Again, it's a very unique event, so we'll find out.
It's definitely something that is for sure. But if you miss out, then that really is on you at this point, because I feel like they've done a pretty good job actually of putting it out there. Anybody who says they didn't see this, I'm like, you're probably not looking at the avenues of communication very well then.
Yeah, I think they could also do a better job of establishing their own brand, because every single time that we have talked about it, it's it's Beasley Esports. They're the name behind it, but the only reason we even care about them is because, again, they're the backers behind the Houston Outlaws, the Overwatch team. Like, I think if they use the Outlaws branding for this,
I don't think they can.
Probably not.
There's probably a trademark issue with it because, because they're franchised under the Overwatch League with Blizzard Activision. Like, there's probably some contractual thing that makes it so that you're not allowed to associate the names with another esport.
That actually probably makes sense.
Because think about it. Version 1, they are the Minnesota Rocker came first for COD, and then version 1 is what they made so they could venture into other esports.
Well, even our home, Envy, is like that too. They they have
Dallas Fuel and Empire for
I was going to say,
Overwatch
for
COD.
both. Yep, took the words out of my mouth. So they have their own brands for those franchises. So yeah, you're probably right. But I think if people had a better understanding of like what that actually means, then maybe they'd be more inclined to try, because they're not just some quote unquote no name.
Yeah, it's all that fun legal mumbo jumbo that
it gets in the way of all the fun.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, I would agree. I think if they could make more of a name for themselves, that'd be helpful for them. But either way, that is going to... Qualifier 2 is happening this weekend, so be sure to go sign up if you plan on participating. But also, if you plan on watching, you can head on over and check that out. That is going to be over on twitch.tv/Beasley Rocket League, twitch.tv/PAX Arena, and twitch.tv/Checkpoint XP. They'll be streaming on 3 different channels throughout that event. So you can check out all the games that are happening and follow the bracket along pretty well. But is there anything else you'd like to add on this? I know we kind of like dove in on this one, but I just found it really interesting because at the end of the day, we talked about how few teams signed up for it. I counted real quick while we were talking. It's like under 50. Under 50 teams for the first qualifier.
Yeah. I don't know.
Actually, I think it was right at 50.
I think there will be more, and I think there'll be bigger names this weekend. But I think I agree with you. We went pretty deep on that one. It was fun though. I enjoyed our segment there.
Yeah. And so that concludes the Rocket League news. Now we are moving on to the roster shuffle. So first up, this is probably old news, but I figured I'd just mention it anyway. I try to make sure that I'm not overlapping on stuff from last week that we missed or something. But Team Queso drop their team. However, the team will be staying together, and they are now going to be going under the name Magnifico. I still think it was surprising that Team Queso dropped them because they still made top 6 in EU.
Yeah. They maybe just got sick of the nonsense based on all the rumors of
Are they staying together? Are they not? Are they staying together? Are they not?
Yeah. Those guys and Dignitas, who we'll talk about in a moment, definitely kept the EU scene on their toes for a minute with the roster stuff. So I think they may have just gotten sick of it. They may have just said, look, like if you guys can't figure it out, like go on your own, like, either join a new team, like figure it out yourselves. Like we're just not dealing with this. That's how I would deal with it. I would just get annoyed. I'd be like, listen, if you guys can't handle it, like see you later.
Yeah. And I said they got top 6. They actually got top 3 to 4. I forgot for some reason. I forgot that. It's been a while since
they're really good.
European Championship happened, so I forget.
They're very inconsistent, but they can be very, very good.
Yeah, when they pop off, they do a really good job, and so. I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens with those guys as they go into the next season. I still think that they have a lot to grow from, and I think the biggest thing I've just seen with EU is just finding consistency. Like Renault Vitality and BDS were like the 2 consistent teams, and everybody else was just you never
crazy.
knew what you were getting. Did you ever see the meme about EU for their events?
There are a lot of memes, Ryan. You're gonna have to narrow it down for me.
It's that meme comic of like first, second, and the guy in third's like going ham on the podium.
Oh
stand,
yeah.
Like the comic, and it's like it said like for the first place guy BDS, second place Vitality. Third guy, whoever decides to pop off that day.
Yeah. Pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Or I love the ones where it's like the podium like continues to go down, so then they have like the people like on third and then fourth, fifth, sixth.
Oh yeah,
it just goes down. I imagine it's the same way going down. Everyone's having a party down there.
But yep. So Team Queso, again, you will now find them under Magnifico. As we go into the next events and season. And then moving on to the next bit of roster news, Heck, Karma, and Zenil will be teaming together under the name Square One.
I like this roster. I didn't know much about Zenil.
That's what I was thinking.
Until I saw them play in the NV Predator Cup that we did. Or that I did, sorry.
Just rub it in, why don't
you? Didn't mean to phrase it like that. But yeah, Zenil actually really impressed me. Very solid player, very mechanically gifted. Obviously, that was a 2v2 event, so it's a bit more showcasey. But yeah, I think it has potential. I don't know that they will really, challenge any of the top level RLCS. This is a team I think that we definitely consider on the bubble, but
Yeah.
on their day, who knows? This would be a team that would be great
Yeah.
for the Beasley Esports tournament.
Yeah, they'd be fantastic for it, I think. Hopefully they go into qualifier 2. That'd be great. You can ditch that Square One name.
Yeah, there you go.
I understand. I kind of get the Square One name a bit, but I think it'd be cool if they managed to go and win that. And, I mean, that'd be crazy comeback story for Karma if she was able to go and take that. And, I mean, Hagen's and Neil, too. They're good players, but, at the end of the day, Karma's, like, the big name that everybody knows on that roster.
No question. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch them.
Yeah.
See if they can, quote unquote, do some damage.
This team could do some damage. And then also, Tander is going to be joining PJ and Brad under Novus AV for the South America region. And Tander, what team was he just? Did he just
Furia.
leave? Huh?
It's Furia, right?
Furia,
With, yeah.
So he joined up with PJ and Brad for Novus AV, so that'll be an interesting one to see. I can't say I know. PJ sounds familiar, but I don't know Brad.
Yeah, don't ask me about too many of the South American teams because I'm not really going to be able to help you. So, yeah. Again, another one where, a lot of talent with Tander. So, can he elevate that squad and bring up towards the top end of South America? We'll see.
We shall see indeed. And I mean, again, South America, remember that True Neutral are not going to be over there anymore. They came to North America. So they will be joining us over here this season. So, that, again, opens up some space for, other teams to kind of come in and make some noise this next season. So that'll be interesting to see. And then moving on to the next one, Zamway. Am I saying his name right? Is it Zamu? Zamway?
Zamue,
whatever.
I don't know.
He is joining the White Demons to replace Tigray, who we just talked about leaving them last week. So, good on them. Zamway, what team was he on?
Oh, gotta pull up the handy dandy Liquipedia.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Thank God for Liquipedia, man.
Yeah. There's so much to keep track of.
Yeah, and to have it all in one place that's like, pretty easy to locate.
Yeah.
He
was with Vodafone Giants.
Oh, there you go.
Or Giants Gaming. Yeah. He was with them and some decent results. Probably not what, he wanted, but then it looks like as soon as spring ended, it looks like he left them. So, interesting. Will be cool to see what happens with this roster. Tigray, I would say, probably is the one that has more experience. So interesting to see that replacement.
Yeah, bringing in the young gun.
The flesh blood.
It's the circle of life in the roster shuffle. Moving out veterans, moving in young players. It's tough world out there.
Sometimes you do the moving. Sometimes you're the one that gets moved.
Yep. Yeah, it's the circle of life. Circle of the shuffle.
Yeah, exactly. And then more roster news. Like I said, this is probably our longest segment today just because it's a lot. Mile has officially left RBG Esports. Mile, for those of you who don't know, is a really strong ones player during... Oh, what's the name of that event that he was with G2 for? It's like the crazy one where it was like they had the 1v1, 2v2, and 3v3 format like all in one.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I also can't remember.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it. But he was G2's fourth for that event. He was their 1v1 player. So he's a really solid guy. I'm surprised that I feel like he could get picked up for something big, honestly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to really say. Miles is an interesting case where there's no doubt there's a ton of potential. But it hasn't fomented yet in the top level. We haven't really seen Mile do anything too crazy in RLCS. And again, for those who are longtime listeners, will know that we have some ancient historic ties with RBG. There are great people over there. So this was the roster of Money, Stokely, and Mile.
Yeah.
For Money and Stokely, I think it'll be very interesting to see who they take with them. I don't know what's out there in terms of like free agents, quote unquote, for NA for that level. You know what I mean? Like this is where the real shuffle happens, because I don't know where they're going after this. To tell you the truth, I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no clue where he's gonna end up. I hope that he gets somewhere good though. He's a really good player, and I mean, again, like we talked about earlier, like so many great players come from the 1v1 section of the game, and I mean, because they're just so solid mechanically, and they can handle so many situations by themselves. I mean, First Killer is such a good example of that, who we'll be talking about in a little bit, but he's such a good example of like just the skill that you can develop being a 1v1 main, and then moving your way into 3v3s. Yeah, it's a bit different, but if you can make that adapt, if you can adapt well, oh man, you're set up well.
Yeah, it's all about the mechanics, really. Because once you have quote unquote mastered the mechanics, nobody really can, because I don't think we've reached what is really the actual skill ceiling. But to a certain extent, once you get really up there in terms of mechanics, at that point it just really comes down to like coaching and instinct and game sense for 3v3. And when you have a handle on the mechanics, then you can apply it in smart and efficient ways. That's what ultimately makes a great 3v3 player. So I think for Mile, looking for that next step, again, I just don't know where the young man is headed or who they're going to be bringing in.
Yeah,
couldn't tell you.
No clue. But moving on to our next one, this is some big news. Scrubkilla is officially joining Dignitas to replace Violent Panda. Did you see this happening? Did you see this becoming his home?
I definitely thought it was possible once they let go of Panda. Again, you have to remember, like, Dignitas is an org that has been around a long time with Rocket League.
Yeah.
And I think they want to be in a position where they are consistently competing at the top level. Scrubkilla is a world champion. He has a lot of brand power behind him, in his own name and the way that he plays. It doesn't shock me too much. I think it'll be interesting to see how he fits with Jack and Joryus. That might be a tough fit, in terms of play style.
Yeah.
But if they can make that work, this is a roster that should be towards the top end of EU, really. On their best days, I don't see why they can't compete with some of the very best. So I like it for Dignitas. I like it for Scrub. I'm just not totally sure how it's going to go.
Yeah, it's one of those things that when it comes to EU, I'm just like, I have to see.
You got to see it to believe it.
I have no clue what to expect with you people over there, because y'all have some wild results happen. I think that it'll be interesting. I don't know. For some reason I didn't picture Scrubkilla as being the replacement for Violent Panda, but when I kind of think about it, it makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think with Panda, you lose a lot of like, leadership and charisma and personality.
Yeah.
To go from that to Scrub is, probably what I would say opposite ends of the spectrum, at least from what we know. Again, I don't know any of these people personally, so I try not to cast aspersions, but based on the stories and the rumors you hear, Panda seemed like, very much like a captain, like a leader type, and then I don't know if Scrub is going to be able to fill that kind of role mentally on the team. But as you said, there's really only one way to find out, and especially in EU, that who knows? All it takes is one spark of magic, and they could go on a tear.
Yeah, that is all it takes. So
they're certainly good enough mechanically, individually.
Yeah, I mean, all three of the players are participating in Johnny's event, in Johnny's 1v1 event. So you know that this is a strong team when it comes to mechanics. Gonna be interesting to see how they handle rotations and playing with each other in that regard. But yeah, excited for it. Not quite who I expected to fill Violent Panda, like I said, but excited nonetheless to see some results from these guys. Moving on to our final piece of roster shuffle news is, this one's kind of more of a rumor, but one I thought would be interesting to talk about because, all eyes seem to be on this young man. Per Shift RL on Twitter, it seems that First Killer could potentially be going to FaZe Clan. And that leads me to my question to you, Perino, which is, what roster do you think First Killer would be a good fit for? Because he seems like everybody has their eye on this guy, which for good reason, though.
Yeah, it's because he's really, really good. And if you can slot him in, with a team that allows him to succeed, where he doesn't have to be the guy all the time, it's a potentially North American winning roster in theory. Now, is FaZe Clan the place that'll happen? Tough to really say. Again, that's AJ and Illusion. No, AJ and
Illusion.
Oh my God,
you're right.
Oh, okay.
Gyro's the one that left.
Yes, I knew it was Gyro that left. I couldn't remember Illusion.
You had it right. You had it right.
Listen, man. Difficult. Yeah. Very dynamic roster if that's the way it goes. Again, this is a little bit of rumor reporting here. We don't normally like to do that, but this is, as you said, probably the premier player that we're looking at for North America in terms of making a move, because once we know for certain where First Killer is going or not going, he could stay. It'll make a lot of the pieces fall into place for North America. So I don't know that FaZe is it. Stylistically, I think First Killer kind of clashes with AJ a bit. You'd have to have a lot of patience in that team for every player to kind of do their own thing. And then you're also kind of then pushing Illusion into a more like glue player role, which I don't really think he's best at.
Yeah.
But if not FaZe, right, and I'll kind of turn the question back onto you, Ryan. So then if it's not FaZe, then where do we think he goes? Because the other strong rumor contender that was happening for the past month or so was G2. Because Chicago and, oh my God, JNaps. I'm having a mental breakdown here. Those two guys are still looking for a third. In theory, we assume at this point it's not going to be Drees. And I think that's actually a better fit for all parties on G2.
Well, did you even see Chicago's tweet recently about all that?
No.
He was like, let me pull it up. He was like, 2K likes and I leak big roster move, and so he says 2K likes and I leaked the biggest roster move this offseason, and he got 5,400 likes.
Bit more than what he needed, yeah.
Yeah, and then he quote tweeted, so he posted that August 1st, and then on the same day, he quote tweeted a comment on that post of someone saying, "Imagine them keeping Drees and playing him longer. The kid is a young prodigy, more than carried his weight." And he just put the thinking emoji as the quote tweet for it. So the question becomes, is he, actually saying like, oh yeah, we're keeping him? Or was this just one of those ploys to get some interactions on tweets?
Yeah, and this is why we don't really play the game. I think 1-for-1, if you had to choose between Drees and First Killer, I think it's First Killer, no question about it. I think Drees absolutely showed, I agree with the comment, that he can, fit into that team and play well. Again, Drees is a very young player. He has not had very much time at the top level, and I think everyone was pretty impressed with how he did with G2. So, yeah, I don't know. Because beyond, like, FaZe and G2, once you step out of that realm, it's like, okay, well, then where would First Killer go? It's hard to really say. Envy have said they're sticking together. Energy will not make a change. There's no way. I believe Space Station have also said, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're sticking together.
I don't believe they said anything, but they also signed all the players for 2-year contracts, and I feel like if they were genuinely looking at this point, they would have said something.
Right. So I don't believe he would go on Space Station, although I think if you put First Killer in for Reddles on Space Station, that team would do horrendous, like really. Well, no, they would do really, really good things. I'm trying to phrase it the correct way. That team would be horrifying, in a good way. But so like if it's not them, then where realistically does he go if not just staying on Rogue? Like I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, not sure. I'm scrolling through Reddle's Twitter real quick because I feel like if there was someone who was going to state what they were doing, it would have been him who made this statement. I'm pretty sure they're all staying together, though. I don't feel like they said they were leaving each other.
It would be quite surprising, I think, if Space Station changed anything, but you never know. But yeah, I just don't see First Killer going anywhere other than FaZe or G2. If somebody else can come up with a roster that they think, First Killer would be inclined to go with,
they got second.
Let me know.
I'm like so brain dead right now. They got second in the North American Championship. They're not changing anything.
Yeah.
I like scrolled down and I saw his tweet about it, and I'm like, why did I even like question it? No, they're not changing anything. They'd be dumb to. They'd be super dumb to change anything. So yeah, that's among the top 6 at least. You're looking at a lot of gridlock up there. Like you said, Energy, Team Envy. I was about to say us. Team Envy.
We're not actually like, for the record, we are freelancers. Like,
Yeah.
We don't actually contract
we
with
love
Envy,
working
but
with them a lot.
they are our favorites, no question.
The grid, I will say, is like one of those things where you really start to drink the Kool-Aid on some of these teams. You're like, all right, I like what you guys have going on over here. Like, this is fun and cool, and because like you saw Daz and James Bond, even like they were definitely drinking the energy Kool-Aid.
Like, that was one of the comments that Turbo made to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if he mentioned it on air or not, but we were talking on the analyst desk, and he says, if you want to listen to biased cast, he goes, listen to Daz on NRG. He goes, that man has the most biased casting I've ever heard. I was like, yeah, you're not wrong, Turbo. I don't know. I don't really listen to NRG's grid because, usually we're on at the same time, but yeah.
I love Turbo so much.
Turbo's the GOAT.
But you start looking at these top 6 teams, and Energy, Envy, Space Station, all three, the top 3 are basically gridlocked. They're not changing anything. Then it's like Rogue, First Killer. It's almost certain that he's leaving at this point. I think I'd be more shocked to see him stay at this point with all the rumors about him leaving. So I could, but also just with how ambitious he is too as a person, it makes sense that he would leave. And then G2 and FaZe Clan. So it's like 3 of the top 6 are still kind of open, essentially, in terms of what's happening. I think once we find out what happens with G2, that's when if we find out, like once you figure out with one of those 3, you'll pretty much figure out with the other 2.
Yep, and I think everyone's just kind of waiting for the first domino to fall, Yeah.
Shopify Rebellion, though, I believe are staying together. That team consisting of Rapid, Beast Mode, and Memory. They did really good, honestly. That was a team that I don't think a lot of people expected to do as well as they did. 7th place finish. They were in contention to be part of the top 6. Like, I that's a team that I don't think they should split up because I think that they still have a lot of room to grow. Rogue, G2, FaZe Clan, they make more sense to break up in comparison. Just because I think, like, for G2, anything outside of top 3 is failure at this point.
Right.
Rogue, just very inconsistent in a lot of cases. And then FaZe Clan, they already made their decision and took out Gyro. So,
yeah, it'll be a big episode for us whenever we figure that out, because that will be a discussion and a half. But I kind of hate like this point where it seems as though, you know, the people inside the scene, not around it, but the people inside the scene seem to know what's up already, and now they're just playing the game of like, I know, do you know? And it's hard for us to really make a comment there because
so much. I hate it so much.
I don't have that level of insider access. The only thing that I had was, I don't know if we'll talk about it, but we had some content creator news that came out today as well.
Oh, you want to go ahead and talk about that one too?
Sure. Are we wrapped up on
yeah, that's everything.
the rest of them?
Yep, that's everything.
Yeah. So
sorry. That concludes the roster shuffle. Now you can go.
Thank you. See, I was waiting for that.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure if this next part would be included in the roster shuffle, because it is not a professional player whom we will soon be talking about. It is a content creator. Her name is Athena, and she announced today that she will be joining Team Envy. I feel like it's worth mentioning because, you know, we cover a lot of different topics on the show, and this definitely fits. I actually knew about this, not to be that guy, but this was the only one that I can ever claim to actually have insider information.
As soon as we finish talking about people who are on the inside, you're like, you know, I'm not privileged to that, and then come into it, but I am privileged to this.
To this one, because when I was in Dallas doing that event, you know, it was brought up that they were going to be doing this. So this has been in the works for a while, actually. This is something that has been an ongoing process for both of them. I'm super happy. I think Athena is amazing. I love what she does with the game. I love what she represents for the game. I love what Envy has been doing with content creators and bringing people on board and, you know, mixing people of different esports backgrounds, putting them all in one place.
Yeah, they have a lot of people.
They have an incredibly strong group. Adding Athena is great for all parties. I'm a super big fan.
Yeah, no, it was cool. You didn't even tell me. Like, so you did a good job keeping the secret. Like, I had no clue. I just suddenly logged on Twitter and saw it, and I was like, oh hey, cool. So you did well.
You know,
people can trust you with information.
Part of the privilege of, you know, having that kind of insider access is that you just don't share it, because then you no longer have it once you share it and leak things to people. But yeah. The interesting thing for us will be what happens, if anything, with the grid. We talked about this a little bit before the show because I didn't even consider this. So Athena hosted the grid for G2 when she was signed with G2 as a content creator. Of course, she is now signed with Team Envy. But Ryan and I already do the grid for Team Envy. So I don't know. Nothing's really been discussed there. So we are in the dark as much as anyone.
I think most casters for the grid are in the dark, though. I don't think a single caster knows what the heck is happening with the grid, because until an announcement's made that they're even bringing the grid back, Lord knows.
Right. I don't think anyone's contract, exceeded the end of last split. So
I'd be surprised if anybody even had a contract.
Well, I mean, we're all
freelance,
we're all in there, freelancing, yes. But yeah, I think this is a great move, because I think the benefit of having a bunch of content creators under the same umbrella is that you bring in a lot of viewership from different areas. Yeah. So the Botez sisters, for example, who are also signed with Team Envy, are like the chess content creators. They're like very much up there in the chess scene, and chess has, as you can maybe imagine, a ton of people watching. So now it's like there's opportunities where, like, okay, maybe the Botes sisters and Athena collab on something. Maybe they all play Rocket League together. They get in a 3v3. You know, like you have that opportunity and ease of access to different people with different audiences, and when you bring them all under the same place, it's great for everyone. So this is all good in the hood.
Yeah. Any collaboration within Rocket League, I'm always excited for. I think one of my biggest collaborations that I have seen so far that I was really excited to see was when Rizzo played Ludwig, Atrioc, and Stans in their Noobs versus Pros series that they do.
And it was like one of the first episodes that they did too.
Yeah, I think it was like their second or third episode of that. But I personally love watching Ludwig. So when I saw that they were doing that, I was like, oh, this is going to be incredible. It was so funny. But it was really cool because a lot of people who didn't really typically watch Rocket League, at least for what I saw from the Twitch chat and stuff, a lot of people were really interested in it because they were like, oh, like, huh. And this is free, you say. So,
yeah.
I thought it was cool.
And Rizzo's also a great, person to fulfill that role for the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, that
he's
is
such a jokester
that is the
himself.
person you want.
Yeah, he meshed really well with Ludwig, Atrioc, and Stan's personalities. So I thought it was hilarious. Because like they talk shit to each other between games and stuff too. So so it's like that was pretty great too.
Yeah, it's very impactful when you can bring audiences together from different places and put them under the same umbrella. So yeah, obviously a big move. We'll let you know. Hey, maybe Ryan and I are just going to be on Athena's channel now covering Envy with her. So who knows? We'll find out. Again, it was just announced today and we don't know anything yet, so we'll keep you posted on that.
I don't think she even knows.
I doubt it. Hey, she liked one of my replies to her tweet today, so, I was very happy.
Oh, man.
It's all it takes, Ryan, is one Twitter like, and I'm just a brand new person.
One Twitter like and Perino's full sellout mode.
Yep. Hey, man. Gotta do what you gotta do.
You got anything else you want to say before we close out today's episode?
Are we already at the end?
Yeah, we're already at the end, man. It's
Oh
been
my
an
goodness.
hour.
See, that's how you know I'm having fun.
We can go with very minimal announcements and still make it an hour-long show.
Yeah, because we talk a bunch of nonsense to one another. No, I thought today was a really good episode. Definitely a lot of discussion. So, for anyone listening out there, shoot us a comment. Write an iTunes review. Give us 5 stars, please, and let us know what you think. Don't be afraid to chime in where you can. Again, we have our Twitter up there. Ryan and I also promote it on our personal accounts. I think starting this week, we may start posting to the Rocket League Esports subreddit as well. So chime in, join us in the conversation, because I like hearing from you guys.
Yeah, always interested to see what you guys want to hear from us. And that was the nice thing about when we did Twitch chat, but also like workflow wise, that was really tough to keep up with.
We haven't really come to a definitive decision about doing live shows again. I think, as you said, it might be something where we do it for one-off things, like where if we have
like
guests,
an interview type segment. Yeah.
But
I think that would work best, honestly.
With where Ryan and I are at in our lives at the moment, it's much easier for us to give us the extra day to just like record it, have no pressure, and then take a little bit of time to come back to it. Edit, publish, title, thumbnail, description. It takes a bit of work. So giving ourselves the extra day really helps.
Yeah. So we'll most we're gonna try and start discussing stuff for our first live episode at some point soon. It may still be a while before we do that, unfortunately, just because life-wise, for those of you who don't know, I am expecting a child by the end of August. So that
means you can't call me Daddy Perino anymore, because you would actually be a father, and I'm actually not.
I'm just gonna keep the nickname for you. I ain't changing any of that.
Fair.
That is your nickname at this point. We've gone too many episodes into this with that being how I introduced you to change it, because I think that was like, I think like since the very first episode I had you on, like when you like officially became like my co-host for this, I think like since then I've always called you that. So I'm not changing anytime soon.
That's very reasonable.
I'll let you have that title.
Thanks. Thanks, Ryan. Glad I won't take that away from you.
Yeah, thank you. But we'll try to get one of those live episodes for you guys hopefully soon. But again, I'm expecting my son by the end of August, so the odds of us being able to schedule someone before that time probably not too likely. But just know that is something that we are thinking of, and we will hopefully be doing sometime soon in the future. But guys, that is it for today's episode of Around the Scene. Again, if you like this, be sure to give us a follow on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, or any of the various podcast services that you may be already listening to us on. It would greatly, greatly help us. If you have the option to leave a review, like Perino said, go ahead and do that. All interactions with us help tremendously. For Twitter and Twitch, you can follow us at PWR_leagues. We probably should look at changing that sometime soon, since we're not
That's
really
in the
doing
works.
that anymore.
In the works.
There's a lot of work to be done on this show.
We have too much fun to put in the work. That's the problem.
Yeah. And then also you can follow Perino at Perino TV on Twitter. You can follow me at PWR_Ryan. PWR is just officially a part of my name. I just can't change it anymore. It's just stuck there.
It's your baby. You own it.
Yeah, I guess so. But yep, be sure to go follow us on our Twitter and comment, mention us, give us some feedback if there's anything you'd like to hear us talk about. If you have anything like a discussion-based topic you'd love to hear our thoughts on, be sure to let us know. We'd happily consider adding that to our show. We do have some topics here for days like today when it's not a whole lot of news, but we somehow managed to hit an hour, so we're not talking about that today. But that is going to do it for us here, guys. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. It has been our pleasure to serve you, and we will see you guys next time.